A very warm welcome and good afternoon to everybody, and thank you for joining us on this, which is going to be quite a good, lively debate. We're going to really sort of covering two specific subjects. It's all about digitalization, and then get into well-being. So we've got two very special guests with us. But before we get started, I'd like to introduce the chairman of the BRCC, Neil McGregor, to say a few words. Neil.
Thank you very much, Colin. Welcome everyone to this afternoon's BRCC webinar. And today we're supported, with great pleasure, I'm pleased to say, by our friends of AHK, the German Chamber. And we have also here Andreas Lehr, who is the Vice President of AHK, if I've pronounced it quite correctly.
Yep.
I've been asked to say a little bit about this event. Firstly, the matters which are the usual. Today we are live on Facebook as well as being here on Zoom. So if you're looking to see us on Zoom, you'll see only half the story of who is attending. Our experience has been that usually 2 or 3 times as many people see us on Facebook. So there should be a very large audience here. Also, we're recording this for your GDPR purposes, you're aware of that. And so even if you can't watch the full event now, you can watch this later as a recorded version. So I was asked to say a little about cooperation between the UK and the Federal Republic of Germany. I'm following in very good footsteps because the Prince of Wales has recently been in Germany and made some very helpful, I think, and useful comments upon the degree of common interest and collaboration between the UK and Germany, despite the end of the transition period coming up at the end of next month. As was said yesterday at the event marking the 140th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Romania and the UK is leaving or has left the EU, but is not leaving Europe. So I'm quite sure we will continue to see very close cooperation between our friends in Germany and the UK. You think of such famous British brands like Bentley, owned by Volkswagen, and Rolls-Royce motor cars, owned by BMW. So there will clearly be a very tight connection there. I have mentioned briefly at the beginning His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales and his address upon relations. You may have seen that the Prince has just issued a letter of support to the NGO in Hermannstadt, Sibiu, to promote the preservation of the Mokenice, the narrow gauge, the Schmalzpurbahn there, as a national historic monument. And I should say that this has been better known in Hermannstadt as Die Wusch, reflecting, of course, the German influence there. So this is another area where the UK are working with our friends from Germany to do something to preserve the heritage and future of Romania. I'm looking forward to hearing this afternoon's discussion, and I'm very pleased to introduce my friend Andreas to say a few words on behalf of AHK. Andreas.
Yo, many thanks. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, partners and friends. It's an honor for me as Vice President of the German-Romanian Chamber of Commerce and Industry to give some welcoming remarks, a warm welcome on behalf of AHK, and great thanks for the great collaboration with the British-Romanian Chamber. So we very, very much appreciate and we are happy to collaborate. Some words about me and about the event. So I'm Andreas Lehr, Managing Director at BASF in Romania, and I'm 28 years in the chamber. Half of this time worked outside Germany in countries like Russia, China, Middle East, Ukraine, and now since 1 year, happy to be here in Romania. And the topic of today's webinar is very interesting and has highest relevance and affect us all as employees, leaders, entrepreneurs, mothers, fathers, and in many, many more roles we play in life. And from each of these perspectives, dear ladies and gentlemen, their chances, challenges, and opportunities. In a nutshell, I think we have to embrace this cultural and behavioral shifts, which already started before the pandemic, but were leveraged and introduced during these times. So new technologies, strong teams, leaders, and employees are the common denominator for organizations today to create new ways of working. And this year, we have made all significant steps in kinds of online communication and digitalization. And I believe we became all much more flexible with our home office offerings for our employees. I also believe that we understand and value the possibilities of virtual meetings with team, with partners, yeah, and today with you and with customers. So these topics will be also most important for 2021 and in the future. Here to find the right balance of the possibilities and use these companies and employees will be an important leadership task. Dear ladies and gentlemen, there is a transition ongoing which will have significant impact on millions of European employees in various industries. The world is changing faster and faster. Agility, flexibility, and new ways of working and thinking is become more important. All what happens now, today and in future, will create opportunities and challenges related to the topic workforce transformation. Processes, jobs profiles are changing. There will be jobs endangered, but also jobs created and many new opportunities. And to tackle and capitalize on these challenges and opportunities, I think a good mixture and consideration of different topics is needed. For example, of course, the engagement of different partners and stakeholders as we are here together. Diversity, different perspectives of teams and leaders. Digitalization, but also we had it prior to the conference today, physical face-to-face meeting and have a good glass of wine together in future as well. And of course, sustainability, new skills, new leadership, and a growth mindset, just to name a few. I believe it is time to focus on our employees and team members more than ever in order to facilitate the evolution of workforce. And in the last months, personally, I experienced with my team this process here. And with optimism, we found out we can manage the topic and with a growth mindset. So look differently on the things, think differently, show empathy, presence, leading with purpose and compassion, and good communication is more important than ever as we have to support this transformation. And finally, drive and steer the transformation, be part of it instead of becoming transformed, should be, from my perspective, a guiding principle. Today, with Claudia Hesselmann and Florian Balkan, they are excellent speakers on board with great experience. And I believe with an open and creative mindset, it will be today a very interesting workshop with many new opportunities, to drive the change, create and implement quickly new processes, digital tools, new ways of working, skills and leadership. And on behalf of the German Chamber, of the AHK, of the German-Romanian Chamber, we wish you all a very interesting workshop and think out of the box. Many thanks for having us. Many thanks.
Andreas, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Neil. I think, Andreas, you've supplied us with a few solutions there already, and I didn't forget the glass of wine. That was probably the one that we all listened to the most, but thank you very much. As you mentioned, we have two very special guests today, and I'd just like to quickly introduce those two. I'm gonna reverse the ladies first. So I'm gonna start with Florian Balkan, who's the country manager of Provident Financial Romania. Florian is the country manager since 2019. Previously served for Provident as regional risk director for Romania, Hungary and Bulgaria. And between 2015 and 2019, He has extensive experience of over, between those years, he has extensive experience of over 17 years, accumulated within well-respected and reputable multinational companies in the financial services and consultancy field. So Florian, a big warm welcome to you. And our other special guest is Dr. Claudia Hesselmann, who's a co-founder and CEO of Arenzia, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm sure you're going to tell me if I'm not. Claudia is a chemist by training, has had 20 years experience in the early phases of drug development. This includes co-founding and holding management positions in various clinical research organizations. With an extensive experience and based on long-term networking in the pharmaceutical industry, Claudia has co-founded Arenzia, exploratory medicine in Dusseldorf, Germany, not far from my birthplace in Mönchengladbach, and Germany, with the main aim to contribute with innovative approaches to substantial acceleration of the drug development process, thus enabling patients access to novel medicines faster. So wonderful two CVs there. And Florian, I'm going to come back to you really to kick things off and talk about digitalization. Andrea sort of touched on it there for us. Can you, before we actually dig a little bit deeper, tell me where we are at the moment? Because I know before COVID, if anybody can remember life before COVID, the digitalization acceleration was already happening in Romania. It was very much part of the country's USP, a lot of investment, a lot of encouragement to that. And then our friend COVID visited us. So you could just kick off with just giving us a general overview of how this transformation has happened over the last few months and looking a couple of months forward. Florian, big warm welcome to you, my friend.
Thank you, Colin, and hello, everybody. Maybe just one thing before we start, a bit to put everything into context related to our Provident company. I mean, so that everybody knows us, we are the second largest British investment in Romania, non-banking financial institution. And maybe what is interesting for us is basically that we have a very large field of agents that go into the country and interact with our customers. So for us, it was all this COVID situation brought a very interesting view where we would see on one hand this part of field interactions, which is very much needed with our customers. On the other hand, the head office, where it was very easy to switch everything to online. It was very easy to move in like 3 days, do things that if you would have put in your business plan, you would have said that it will take 1 year and things like this. Now, if we go and we look, coming back to your questions, if we go and we look into digitalization, I think definitely on the financial sector, we have seen already different fintechs coming. We have seen different banks coming and offering digital products, but definitely there was still a lot to go. Even for us, if we say we were thinking of having one end-to-end digital product for our customers, but realistically, we didn't get to it. We are still working and trying to prepare it. Now, reality is that if we look around and we are true to ourselves, Teams and cloud computing and other collaboration tools, they existed a couple of years ago. We just ignored them fully. And then Mr. COVID came. And I've seen an interesting joke around was saying, which was the main reason for digitalization, the main force behind digitalization in your company, was your CEO, was your CIO, or was COVID? And I think COVID is the right answer in this one, because realistically, it pushed us, which are, very traditional company. It pushed us very quickly to change our mindset and to go with maybe in 3 days to have everybody from our head office with laptops going home, working from there. And to be honest, we didn't feel like we missed a bit. And what we feared very much. We didn't feel like we missed a bit from this perspective. It was much more complicated, the other part, the part with the field, because there was the reality of health and safety and how we are able to protect both our customers and our employees. And there, actually, we took a very, very significant decision to stop the activity for 3 weeks. and we just didn't visit until we felt like we are very well equipped and that we have adjusted all our processes so that we don't put anybody into jeopardy. And I think that was maybe 2 months of huge work, but of a very, very fast turnaround. And if we look at this, we can say that COVID perhaps pushed the fast forward button and move us maybe 10 years down the line. And I think if we go a bit back, we can think of what would have happened if we actually would have done this on our own. And, you know, we would have the possibility that every financial customer would be able to take a loan just by through a couple of clicks and some electronic signature. I think that would be fantastic. And we should now put digitalization on our agenda all over the place.
Mm. So just on that, Florian, do you think that that maybe there was, because I remember working with the team, actually, we were doing a change management program with the team at Provident about 3 or 4 years ago, I think it was, and there was always that the consumer reluctance to go into digitalization. And I guess what you're saying is that this COVID pandemic has kind of forced, if that's the right word, people has actually been pushed along by COVID rather than pushed back.
Reality is that we'll have different categories of customers. We'll have categories of customers which will always stay away from digital. And that's just who they are. They will always like the traditional meeting. They will always take the risk of a face-to-face discussion and trust the people that they see rather than the people that they don't. But the other reality is that we have a lot of young generation that is pushing more towards a mobile interaction, a digital interaction. And that's something that is here. We can't change it, and it's a reality that if we look in the next 10, 20 years, it will just go with an exponential rapidity into this direction. And we need to be prepared, so we need to accelerate every effort that we do in digitalizing. And here, you know, if you think of a crisis, you can always take a crisis like something that comes to you and, oh, it's a very tough moment, but you can take it like an opportunity and actually think how the world is changing and how we can be one step ahead. And I think it's something that we all need to think very carefully, how we really take the best out of it, because in the end, we shouldn't just stay aside and, you know, just be pitiful for ourselves that something like this came.
Yeah, interesting. And well, as I'm asking a question, I should just add to our audience, we're going to have a couple of sessions here, and then we're going to open it up to you. So please, I think, Anna, click on the in the chat room, or is there's a Q&A button on everybody's screen. I'm not quite sure, but you can pose your questions to our panelists and myself if you wish. And we'll cover those after. But Florian, just sort of spreading the wings a little bit and looking at the Romania in general, and talking about things like RPA and AI. And I know if we go back to the talk about RPA replacing jobs, and then we realize no, it's actually replacing tasks rather than jobs. What is your sort of vision in terms of what is your observations in terms of how organizations are going forward? Are they adopting digitalization and RPA, etc., because everybody else is? Or what is your message to them?
Well, I think us as Romanians, we are lucky to have the big unicorn of WePath in Romania. It's very easy actually to connect with them and with their partners, Agranda, and work on RPAs. We have already started this process for maybe 2 years, and we've seen that it has great benefits in terms of eliminating all the repetitive tasks. And the reality is that ideally, you would like your people to focus on bringing all the creativity that they can, rather than doing all these tedious minor tasks. And I think it's a big advantage where you can actually go ahead and utilize your people at their bigger strengths, rather than having half the time occupied by this small task. I absolutely am a big believer that this will come, and that we are witnessing a transformation in this regard, and is no longer just, if you go and see into the automotive industry, where you would see, for example, a lot of robots do it, a lot of activities in building a car. But I think right now you can see it with the RPAs across any parts of the industry, because everywhere you will have these repetitive tasks that can be easily done in seconds. What the reality is that what people are doing in hours or days, the robots will do in seconds, and most likely without any error. So definitely we are going into this direction.
Okay, and before I ask your next question, I've just been reliably told by Anna, if anybody has any questions, you can use the chat room, or you can come off mute and shout as loud as you like, and I'll take the question. So choose whichever one you feel comfortable with. But just staying on this subject, Florian, just in terms of this, I mentioned about this fear of it taking jobs. I guess there are certain jobs, certain tasks, if you like, particularly in accounting. We hear about with RPA, been able, you mentioned it yourself, you can raise 1,000 invoices in 3 seconds, as opposed to that side of it. How is that impacting? Is the message coming from people saying, no, it's not going to replace jobs? Is that correct? Or should people start looking at, a career change, or what would your message be to somebody maybe at university right now studying for their accounting degree and thinking, oh my God, when I'm graduated, there's going to be no jobs for me because Ronnie the robot is going to do everything?
Well, we have Aria and Sherlock the robots in our company, and a lot of nice names. Look, reality for us is that by using them, we managed to save a couple of jobs, and that's just the reality. But I think the purpose here is actually how we focus our people in doing much creative tasks and tasks that actually robots will never, or it will take a long time until they will be in this position to do. Because I think the big and rich power of humans is that they can come with a lot of new bright ideas, and robots will not be. And I think nobody should really fear that actually they are, or be sorry that they are losing the tedious repetitive task. I think they should welcome it, they should embrace it and say, that's good. I actually, if I asked you before robots, if you like to do this, you will say, oh, I hate it. Now, fine, I take away whatever you hate. So now let's focus on the parts that actually you enjoy, and where you can be better, and you can be more and more bringing new great ideas that will take the business in a significant other way. And let's look at the other way around. We are in a crisis. In a crisis, companies will need to look at how they adjust costs as well. And that's a reality that RPAs help you there. So I don't think we should be surprised to see in the following years that this will continue, but I think we should embrace it as it's just something that you wouldn't like anyway.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you realise there, Florian, but you gave everybody a great bit of advice there. And I think what you were saying there is that look at the things that people enjoy doing, look at the tasks that they enjoy doing and what they're good at. And that's going to be the greatest thing for them. For an individual within your company to be spending more time doing what they enjoy doing, they're going to do a better job of it, and everybody's going to be fairly happy in it. So I think that's good advice, and I think the human touch has come through very, very deeply through this COVID. And I know leadership has changed from kind of just motivating people to inspiring people. There's been much more of that empathy, and the emotional intelligence as a skill, I think, has risen to probably one of the biggest skills that we should have. So I'm gonna shift over to Claudia right now, because I want to dig deep and get sort of emotional, if we could, a little bit, Claudia. We talked about I guess the physical, the cognitive, the emotional well-being of people is something that companies have been striving to create over the last few months, or few years, I should say. And then COVID came along, and suddenly this health and well-being floated to the top. You're going to give us a little presentation to share some thoughts with us, and then we'll come back and ask you some questions straight after that. So Claudia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Colin, and thank you very much to the German Chamber of Commerce and to the British Chamber of Commerce for organizing this event and for inviting me. I'm very honored. I will give you some general aspects of so to say, the impact which happens due to COVID on the workforce generally. So also some aspects of the new or the future of the work, so to say, based on some very strong data from the World Economic Forum and OECD, which is Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. So, so I will use their statistics a bit for the purpose of information, and then I'm more than happy to share with you my experience with, let's say, regarding the impact of COVID, and some ideas from my organization in terms of how to say, how this changes, and independent of COVID, what approaches we have towards the future of work in terms of how we do this in my company. And I have to say that so Arencia and myself, so we are working in the field of clinical drug development. So new therapies, bringing new therapies on the market in collaboration with large pharmaceutical and biotechnology companies. And this, how to say, this impact, I mean, the impact of digitalization and this speedy work and the fastness of processes has never been in the pharmaceutical industry more evident as during the COVID pandemic. Yeah, so we are in a position where a new vaccine with a new technology is being put in place in less than 1 year. This is unseen. Yeah, when you think that the drug development process is somewhere between, let's say, if you take it as a maximum, it's somewhere up to 15 years to develop a new drug, you know, with cost of billions. Yeah, and now we are in a position where, under such a pressure, where every life counts, where we are really, how to say, seeing this disaster, you know, which is caused by COVID, that we are in the position to advance a new vaccine in such a short time. And this doesn't mean that the pharmaceutical companies are, so to say, are compromising on safety or on efficacy. Definitely not. Yeah, because there are a lot of voices who are very conservative in this direction. It's just the digitalization, the processes, and the fact that, how to say, that everybody worked together and all technology has been put in place and used to make this speed possible. Yeah. And so regarding the chart, what you see, yeah, which is the sources OECD, you see that the impact on jobs, yeah, due to this to the COVID pandemic, has been 10 times bigger than the global financial crisis, which happened in 2007-2008. That's enormous, yeah. And so this graphic shows, so to say, the collapse is the number of hours people work. The blue line is a global financial crisis, and the COVID crisis you see in red. Yeah, so that's how to say, that's unseen. Yeah, if we move to the next slide. Yeah, the unemployment also the impact is enormous, and the unemployment, according to all statistics, will remain high into 2021 as well. Yeah. So you see the unemployment, the blue line, you see it end of the 2019. Yeah, so the first quarter of 2020, when the pandemic came in place. And then we see here, because this chart is from midsummer, and you see that unfortunately the second scenario, which was projected by OECD, is this double hit scenario, which is happening now with a second wave coming big time. And definitely, how to say, the impact in the unemployment is definitely going into 2021. If we move to the next slide. Yeah, so I just took some, how to say, took some statistics. And for example, end this April, yeah, so at the beginning of the pandemic, when everything started and the lockdown was at the highest level, 62% of employed Americans worked at home, yeah, compared to 25% a couple of years ago during the same time. And also this something which it was mentioned before in this discussion, that during the pandemic, that many people have been surprised on how quickly and effectively this video conferencing technologies and collaboration has been adopted by many companies. So suddenly everybody was using Zoom, yeah, and all this teleconferencing went very, very smooth, yeah, and even for the people who are not so familiar with these technologies, they just adopted it very, very fast. And in a study by McKinsey research, by McKinsey, 80% of the people questioned report that they enjoy working from home, 41 that they are more productive than they have been before, and 20% that they are as productive. So you see that the impact of this technology, I mean, really in at such a high concentration, has been welcomed or has been used by the employees. And this also, of course, using these technologies and the remote working definitely saved travel time, also induced flexibility, yeah, and also how to say, juggling between work and the family was easier because they were at home. Of course, also with the downs that you know, the schools were also closed, and this was the negative part because many people who didn't know how to handle with the kids being home, it was of course not so positive. But overall, the feedback is very positive, and definitely this is also something which will, I'm absolutely sure it will impact on the future talent acquisition in many companies. Yeah. So myself as Arense as a company, the majority of our partners, biotechnology companies, they are located in the San Francisco area, yeah, in the Bay Area, and there is a huge problem to attract talent from the close region of San Francisco because the housing in San Francisco is so expensive, yeah. So even if the salaries are, of course, how to say, attractive, but once the people need to spend a huge amount of money on living in the, so to say, San Francisco or close to the city, it's of course very expensive. So now companies who were before, let's say, focusing to acquire people from the how to say, near the offices, now they can really get talent from mid US, yeah, due to these new possibilities. If we can move to the next slide. Also, it's interesting that that's a statistic from the Harvard Business School, and it was a study performed in 6 large metropolitan areas in North America, Europe, and Middle East. So they aggregated meeting and email metadata from over 3 million users, yeah, and compared to the pre-pandemic levels, yeah. So they have seen an increase in the number of meetings per person up to 12%, close to 13%, increasing the number of attendees per meeting up to plus 13%, decreases in the average length of the meetings, minus 20%, less time in meetings per day, minus 10% in the post-lockdown period, and significant and durable increases in the length of the average work day. So people worked longer from home as if they would have been in the office with 8.2%. And also they have seen a short-term increase in email activity. So that's how to say, I'm a scientist, I'm a data-driven person, yeah? So this shows very, very clearly the impact of having people working from home. If we can move to the next slide. Yes, this is this shows. I just wanted to picture this because it's so much what I use in my company, and some things which how to say, which just came without a strategy of implementation. For example, in the future of work, you know, instead of having this hierarchy, you know, you have the boss and the boss says something and everybody follows. Yeah, with all the digitalization, with all this generation or the millennials, and now the generation Z coming on board, how to say, this type of hierarchy, it's not the future. Yeah, so this flattened structure will be the future in many companies in terms of organization. These fixed working hours, the flexible working hours, yeah, that's clearly, for example, when I deal with my people, I'm not interested in how many hours the people take. I want the job to get the job done. And if my director marketing, if she wants to take Wednesday free to go to the spa, I don't care. She can take the Wednesday free, yeah? As long as she delivers the work which we need to get the company, how to say, in the right position, yeah? Also this hoard information with, you know, everything, you know this word, what is what happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. Yeah, that's not the case for the future. Yeah. So with all this social media, with people, and with the new generation, with the millennials accessing all these social platforms, if something happens in a company, it can go outside very fast. Yeah. So the ethical aspects or these ethical codes and so on, the companies must be much more aware to work more transparently and to communicate more transparently with their employees, because if they don't do this, this will impact on their reputation. Yeah. And management of the reputation in any company is much harder as it was in the era, let's say 5- years ago. Yeah. So the shared information, that's the future. Yeah. This command and control and fear-based leadership, that's a bit similar to the point I mentioned before, is really this engaging, empowering, inspiring leadership. On-premises technologies has been replaced with a cloud technology, and we see this everywhere. Yeah. For example, for us, yeah, we work with international pharma companies and so on. We have our systems based in Lithuania. Yeah, so we work cloud-based, and everybody accesses some servers and so on. So it's just amazing what happens in terms of this data storage and so on. Yeah. Then email was a primary form of communication. Yeah. If I look back, and now email is not the primary way of communication. Yeah. So you have all these, how to say, all these other technologies. And one aspect which I would say it's extraordinarily important in future for any company to be aware and implement is this linear career. Yeah, you have it in the company. A person come as an entry level, and and it goes in the same job from from associate to manager to senior manager to whatever, head of department. I think that this is really for example, in my company, what we do, and so over the last 10 years, we have a turnover rate, I mean, in terms of employees, less than 3%. It's the fact that we give people new jobs. So somebody who works in my company as a project leader, a physician, can come and work in the marketing department for 1 or 2 years, and then they can switch and work. So this opportunity of giving people different jobs within the same company, yeah, not only, so to say, in the same department, but really totally changing the department, it's for me of extraordinary help, because I can have in my marketing department people who are really working with the patient and who know what, so to say, hands-on research is, and not just some theoretical things, So these aspects of I would say collateral or lateral developments in the same company, I think that's a future to retain talent in the company. Yeah. Also what we have discussed, this work at office, yeah, which changed into work from everywhere. Yeah. So today, I am officeless. I don't have an office since 10 years now. So I don't have any office. If I go to my affiliate, to my office in Ukraine, in Kiev, I have my laptop, I have my phone, we have a common meeting room, and I can sit in the meeting room and work. I go to Germany, I have a desk, which is shared by other colleagues as well, and I sit there and I can work. So I don't need, so to say, an office to do my job. Of course, that's a different situation depending also on the company. So we need to stay, of course, also linked to the specific of the industry, yeah? Because, I mean, if you need to be in an office or in a fixed office for a certain reason, because otherwise you cannot deliver your job, it's of course different, because it's the same, when you have workers who are on operation line or on production line, they cannot go away and take a computer and leave, yeah? So also here, it's of course, it depends on the business. We can go on. This is also a very interesting overview regarding technologies by proportion of companies likely to adopt them by 2020. Yeah. So if you look, 80% of the companies, and that's already present. They are users of data, so they just use the apps and everything what is available. Yeah. So 75% they will go also in app and web-enabled markets. the Internet of Things, 75%, machine learning. So you see that across the industries, these technologies will be absorbed because it's just a matter of, how to say, survival. Yeah, so I just have I recall just a personal, it's a very simple example, you know. I was living in Paris with my kids, and they like McDonald's, yeah, and they have restriction, and I tell them, okay, we can do twice per week, twice per month, we can, I can take you to McDonald's, yeah. And I just went into a McDonald's, how to say, a McDonald's shop, yeah, a McDonald's, how to say, a restaurant in Paris, and suddenly I had to go to a machine and order the food. Yeah, my first reaction was, why can't I, where is the guy or the lady who can help me to order normally? And my first reaction, so I just went out. I said, no, I will not use the machine. It was for me, the first reaction, it was, you know, I just need a person to interact with me. Yeah, and 10 minutes later, I was inside and of course using the machine. And now it's for me totally normal to order at McDonald's with this machine. Yeah, it's not even, I don't even think about it. And I think we are all confronted at some point in time with a new technology, which it may not even be so extraordinary. And we just need to accommodate and to make the switch. Yeah, that's the future. Yeah, and that's it. And you just use it. You need to learn how to use it. And yes, so I think that this, and coming back to some comments before, you know, will be people replaced by machines and so on? Definitely, we will have jobs which will be replaced. That's absolutely, you know, when from the industrial, from the, how to say, from the agro revolution to the industrial and now to the digitalization, at each of these steps, you know, people lost jobs. Yeah, I think what we can do today is just to give the people opportunity to adapt and to learn new skills. Yeah, so I think the people must be open to learn new skills. You can't say, I don't want to do anything, but I just want to keep my job. This will not be possible. Yeah, and we need to be realistic about this. So it must be a kind of flexibility and support. And there are a lot of discussion regarding reverse mentoring. You know, reverse mentoring, it's something which is different from how the people entering companies were trained years before. You know, usually when you enter a company, if I think 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, when I started in this business, I had a person assigned to me, a senior person in the company, teaching me how to navigate the company. You know, now the point is a person who is in a company since 20 years and not so familiar with this technology, it will be taught by a new entry who is very skilled in with digital skills. And this newcomer, so to say, who is again a Gen Z person or a millennial, will teach the senior person how to adapt to the new world. So that's with the reverse mentoring. So people, there is also a generational change, and from both sides, it should be more flexibility, and the companies should invest in adapting their employees or in giving this flexibility. The next slide. I think this is also the last one. Yes, this slide I found very, very interesting because it is, and I suggest you to go through some. It was published by the World Economic Forum. It's from January 2016, and it shows the top 10 job skills in 2015 versus 2020. Yeah, and you see that the number one stays complex problem solving. Yeah, so this skill is number one. There are two skills which are not even present in the 2015 list and which are present in the 2020 list. And this is number 6, emotional intelligence and cognitive flexibility. Yeah. In this crisis, the companies who are flexible, who show flexibility and adaptability, these are the companies who are going through the crisis and surviving and getting out stronger. Yeah. And of course, the emotional intelligence we also discussed before, that's key, especially when it comes to interacting with the new technologies, because even if we speak about very sophisticated AI machinery or robots or whatever, it's about emotional intelligence. A machine can never have this emotional intelligence at the scale of a human. Yeah. And if I, for example, speak about my, if I speak about the healthcare business, yeah, it will be a huge impact of the digitalization in the healthcare business. I think more than in ever other industry. Yeah. And if you think that, for example, in US, for a radiologist to look on 4 scans or 4 radiology scans, it costs $700. Yeah, this can be done today by a machine for a tenth of the cost. Yeah, so the impact will be amazing. Yeah, the physicians will have a very, very important role. So it's not that the physician will lose their job. That's for sure not. The physician will be the translator between the technology and the patient. It will be the comfort, the carer, and explaining the patient the disease and explaining this in human words. Yeah, and I think this will also apply to other industries. We can move to the next one. Yes, this is just a picture showing that the future is around the corner. You see the, how to say, the artificial intelligence and just a tablet who is oversighting everything. Yeah, probably it's a bit too hard to see, but I'm absolutely confident that the new technologies it's not about being scared of. It will be a very good enhancement to the human skills. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. I think you should go and have a rest after that. Thank you very much. I'm actually going. We've got a couple of questions that come up on the screen, but I want to sort of bring Florian and yourself in, Claudia, on this. I wanted to sort of just a quick question on the survey there, with 80% of people saying that they prefer to work from home. I'd like to challenge that a little bit if I can. And the reason I want to challenge that is there a case, Florian, I'll come in on this one. Is there a case that, you know, for young people, and we look at Romania, and I want to sort of dig down to the Romanian market here, where we do have COVID winner industries, we have COVID loser industry or potential COVID loser. You know, we have a high business services industry, which I think has flourished through this period, and then other industries, online retail, etc., etc., etc. I want to touch on young people. You know, Romania is a very young workforce in some of these industries I've just mentioned. So if a young person has that sort of flexibility, if you like, to be able to work from home before COVID, there was, you know, we were creating a nice mixture. COVID came along and everybody had to go home. When people are questioning, is there a fear of it's either one or the other? And as leaders, should we start to educate, if you like, our people and make people aware that as we move forward here, yes, we are going to create this hybrid kind of working environment. So you don't have to be fearful when somebody asks you to say, yes, I prefer working from home because the alternative is 100% back in the office. With your people, Florian, is that something that you're aware of as a leader that you need to manage? And I'm going to throw one more question, so you can answer 2 questions at the same time. And it's a question that came through from Dr. Raymond Davis. Raymond, good to see you again. And really about the international competitive landscape. You know, are we fast forwarding too much with digitalization? Are we becoming obsessed and crazy about it? And does it take away that protection that we have in the domestic market, but also internationally? And does it mean that, and I think the question is, you know, does it mean that international competition for market capture from your local markets is more likely to happen? Are we shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit with too much of this?
Yes, thank you. So regarding
just Florian, and then we'll come to you, Claudia. You need to have a rest.
Okay, so regarding the first question, so my personal opinion on this. Sorry, it was your.
Yeah, Florian was going to go on. Carry on. If you could do a very, very quick answer, then we'll come.
Yes. So regarding the first question, I think that definitely this impact on COVID will irreversibly influence or impact the working structure, yeah? And definitely the work from home will stay, even in companies which before didn't have this in, so to say, in their structure. So for me, I think the way this will happen, and I have seen this model very, how to say, very successful, and personally, I have tested it in my company, and it's working. Is that you have this how to say, common spaces, yeah, with common offices, that you don't have just a desk assigned to somebody, but you have an open space with several offices, physical offices, and people, you know, one day you have a team of people coming, the other day you have another team of people, so people still come together. It's this hybrid model, yeah, and they can also still work from home. So some days in the office, some days from home, and this doesn't kill the social networking within the company.
So you're saying like a hybrid.
Exactly. I'm sure that the how to say, that we will never go back as an economy. We will never go back to the non-hybrid model or just office model.
Okay. Florian?
I agree with Claudia. I think from my side, we'll never go back to 100% coming to work. I think this is gone. I think the reality is that what we are thinking of actually giving this type of flexibility and changing the mindset of our people is instead of coming to work on a daily basis, they come to work to meet other colleagues. And I think you will need this in order not to lose two other elements. One was touched by Andreas in terms of creativity and interaction, and the other one is actually the company culture. Because reality is that by working from home, you risk a lot of losing all the interaction and the company culture. And if you're able to create this hybrid environment where actually people are coming, but they benefit of the flexibility of working from home as well, I think this would be great. Because let's not kid ourselves. Young people would love to wake up at 9 and to come and work at different other hours. It's just the reality. And we would have done this similarly at their age probably. And you would love not to need to take all the Bucharest crowd and Bucharest traffic jams and just go to work at different hours and find the right solution. But I think the reality is that we need the interaction as well. If we go fully remotely, working from home, we will benefit of the cultural component for a while, but then it will die out. And I think it's something very dangerous for all companies.
Yeah, I agree. Claudia, you know, in terms of, you know, we're a long way through this pandemic now, so we have data. You know, at the beginning, there was these sort of ideas of how we do things, and working from home was forced upon us. Now we've got data, and now we're hearing about, you know, and I wanted to sort of touch on this with you in terms of the emotional effect of working from home. We can talk about the productivity in companies saying, and I've heard a lot of companies say, it's okay, you know, our productivity is as good, if not better, with people working from home. But is that the reality of that? Is that when people are working from home, they don't switch off? You know, there's no 9 till 6, it's 8 till 9, 10 o'clock. And the stress levels, particularly with younger people, are something that's not people are being aware of, organized being aware of. What should we be, you know, what are the warning signs? What should we be doing about that to make sure that we don't assume that people are happy working from home?
Yes, I think what is very important here is the communication with the people. You know, it's a constant communication from the management with the teams, and understand their workload and understand their fears and understand their wishes. And because I was saying about this hybrid model, which we use now since many years in my company, I have to say that I have some colleagues who are saying, Claudia, I cannot work from home. I need to come to the office. I want to be every day in the office. And then I say, yes, of course, why not? We can arrange this. Yeah. So you need really to listen to the people. There is no solution, let's say, one fit for all. Yeah. And in terms of the workload, definitely it is. Yeah, it's clearly, I see it also in my company, and particularly now, I mean, probably different from other businesses, we are really very busy in the research field at the moment, and we have even more work as we had before, independent of COVID. However, this can only be solved with communication and trying to find solutions that people do not end overwork, which is not easy. Yeah, which is not easy. But this can be solved only through communication in my eyes, and taking measures to help them overcome this.
Okay, okay. We have a question from Marius Tudor Marine, I think. It says, and this is, it's probably looking at the old man moderating this session. He's saying, unfortunately, human nature is to be afraid of change. And I think we all agree with that. Change is a big hurdle for us to overcome. They must change is not something easy, nor sounds nice. What do you think of people in their mid-50s? Retirement age is increasing. How can the older people cope with the change in this business environment? Florian.
Well,
Yes, please.
I think Claudia touched a bit the part of the technology, where reality is that you will need to learn from each other. I think the other reality is that there will always be jobs which will not be touched by technology. And again, human interaction will always be needed, and you will always need different types of activities, which anybody who is not a technology savvy person will be able to do. And so I think it depends very much where it is the sector and where people activate. And some of the sectors will be significantly touched by technology, and unless you're able to cope with it, you will no longer have a place there. And that's a harsh reality, but it will be the reality. I think the other part is that we need to trust as well our 50 years people, that actually they have much more beneath them and much more possibilities of change that we might believe. And the reality is that some of them might get really excited about it after a period of time when actually things were dull and nothing really was happening. So I don't think that suddenly this is, you need to go home and retire, because I think there's lots of things that they can do.
Okay, and on a personal level, Florian, as a business leader, but as a parent as well, in terms of, we mentioned about the collaboration, the spirit. I read an interesting statistic that 23% of long-term relationships are created in the workplace. So, people being in the office is, there's various things in terms of not just benefits for the company in terms of creativity, but also the benefits in terms of people's welfare and feeling good. Going back before COVID, it was starting to happen, and I'm just asking for your thoughts from a Provident perspective. It was starting to happen for you guys, I'm sure. If COVID had never happened, do you think you would have just evolved into a hybrid workplace, but the emphasis still would have been on encouraging people to be in the office and having all that? What is your ideal?
Well, we used to have 1 day work from home that you could do every week. So that was something already in our normal routine, but we wouldn't have gone that aggressive. I think reality right now probably will get not more than 50% in the head office. So you would go from like 1/5 to half of the people working from home on a regular basis. So I think it accelerated this thing that we were just giving for a flexibility as an opportunity to the people, as an extra thing versus other places of work. Reality is that right now, I think it will go in the other direction. If you don't have this, people will just leave your company and go and work for other companies which provide this flexibility. And that's going to be just the reality.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting. Again, another statistic, I think retention in Romania, particularly in the business services industry, which is a very big industry. I think it went down to something like 12% because of COVID, and we can guess the reasons why. Insecure about leaving a company. But I guess the key for organisations now, because it was in the mid to late 20s in certain areas, is really how we maintain that. And I mentioned at the beginning about we used to motivate people with employee benefits and having an office near to the shopping mall and all those things, which, like everything in life, people become immune to, if I can use the word immune. But now fast forward, I mentioned about, we really have to inspire people. Are we agreeing that we want to inspire people to continue to be able to come back in the office? But Claudia, what's the advice for people with that particular office? Is there a bit of a fear of the unknown. We've got the great news from Pfizer and other companies now that there's a cure along the way, or well, not exactly a cure, but there's the remedies along the way. Does that give people a different perspective? Now they know it's a case of when they can come back to the office, not a case of if they ever come back to the office. And what should that office look like? Is it going to change dramatically? Is it going to be about health, or what is it?
Yes, I mean, I can give, I'm happy to give some comments here, but I think that the question before what you asked regarding this fear of change and the more senior people in the company, how they cope with the technology. And I can just give you an example from my company, yeah? In two very important positions, in a director position, I have two very dear friends to me, who are, one is over, both are over 60, yeah? And they have a tremendous knowledge, yeah? Tremendous knowledge which is, so to say, for the business I'm running. And none of them is skilled with the new technologies, yeah? However, for example, in the marketing department and in the IT department, I have young people. These are, so to say, the latest millennials. They can use whatever stuff and computer and so on. And when the senior person has a question, they go to them. So they get immediate help with whatever technology we use. Yeah. So I think for companies who have these very, so to say, highly skilled seniors in the company, yeah, in terms of, it can be whatever level, I think it is extraordinarily important for the company to keep this level of expertise, because you will not find it on the market, yeah? So as a suggestion, I think in each company, it should be a hub of young people, not specific dedicated to a department, but let's say in the IT department, who are at the service or at the support for the more senior people to help them, yeah, in interfering with the technologies. And in terms of the future offices, I think that especially for younger people, retention of younger people, it will be more and more difficult, yeah, because they have so many opportunities. There's so much on all media they can have, on social media. They see so many opportunities, yeah. And also their mindset, they don't look at a company for staying long time. They have a different mindset, yeah. So a young person would never think, you know, I go to this company and if I have a good job, I will be here for 10 years. This thinking is not even existing today as it was years before, yeah? So in order to keep these talents, because you train them, you give them opportunities and so on, you must have a office environment, which is really very attractive to them. And on top of having nice offices or having a nice, lunch area, or where people can sit with some really attractive, so to say, environment, I think also one important are the benefits, and also a bit of out-of-box benefits. Yeah. For example, I have been approached by a company, you know, I would say a company is in the field of wellness, if I can say, and they came to me with a concept which I definitely want to implement after this pandemic, where they have a package with a stylist, yeah, a package for for various beauty therapies and so on, for men and for women, which let's say can be put at the disposal of the employees on top of their health insurance and so on. So for example, if somebody from my company would like to have a stylist accompany them to a shopping mall in the weekend to advise them how they should dress, how they should change, what it fits to them, I will hire this service, yeah, because it empowers my employees. It gives them something extra, which they would usually or probably do not do by their own incentive, yeah. So I think there are a lot of things where employees can be, yes, rewarded in different ways, yeah.
So is your message that we should, and I want to talk about 2021, yeah, we're drifting up to Christmas. We don't know what Christmas is going to look like for all of us, but let's look forward to 2021. Are you there saying that the emphasis should be on encouraging people back into the office?
Definitely. So what I can say from the scientific point of view, I'm sure that by end of 2021, we will be able to move, so to say, without a big fear of catching COVID with the new vaccines coming in place. So the vaccines from Moderna, from Pfizer, from AstraZeneca, with a bit of differences, they all look very promising, definitely. There is a very solid science behind, with all this speed, it's a very, very solid science behind. On top of this, there are new therapies. There are two products from Eli Lilly and from Regeneron who got the fast approval, priority approval in US, which are monoclonal antibodies, which are fantastic therapy, which are, so to say, stopping patients infected with COVID to go into more advanced or more serious forms of the disease. So this combination of the monoclonal antibodies newly approved and with the vaccines coming now soon, I have personally, I have a very positive message to the audience, and I'm absolutely confident that we will be able to go back to the normal life towards the end of the next year, at least in Europe and US. Of course, depends upon vaccine availability, which I don't doubt.
Okay, but about Romania, let's talk about Romania. What would be your vision in terms of Romania being in that position where we can live life a little bit normally?
I see it similar to Europe. I don't make a difference between Romania and Europe. Yeah, okay. So I think at the European level, the vaccines will be distributed to all European countries, and I see Romania in a similar position to all other European countries. So
okay. So say around about the end of next year. So Florian, you know, let's see where we are. If we're saying you're going to announce this to all of your people on Monday. Okay, this is the situation. What about those people? And I want to touch on this because, and I've already mentioned it, about the people who are struggling right now. You know, we can have, particularly as now, you know, I'm looking out of the window here and it's dark, it's getting cold. I was scraping ice off the windscreen this morning. Working from home, that freedom that it provides is a little bit different in the summer to what it is the winter. And we're coming into a difficult time, especially with people who, you know, I live in Mogeshwar. I'm officially on lockdown. So a lot of young people with young children, etc., their flexibility is getting less and less and less. Their stress, their anxiety is getting higher and higher and higher. What message can we send to people who are feeling that way right now?
Well, I think it's more than a message. And if we look at this, the reality is that there are people who have young kids, which is very complicated to be in the cold all the time with young kids around. There are people who are living in small flats, maybe 2-3 people in a small flat, complicated to be there. There are people who, I don't know, have this work-life balance that you mentioned very disturbed, because in reality, it's easy to say, well, what happened? You're home. But in reality, on the long term, you just can't continue. You need to find the right spaces and separation between the work and your personal life, because otherwise it will be very complicated. And I think considering all this, we actually looked and we worked with some psychologists, and we came and we offered our guys possibility to talk to specialized people and or we created different workshops on parental guides, for example, or different other elements like this. And then on top of this, Claudia was mentioning the extra effort that the managers need in this period. I think it's very powerful, this one, because actually what we count a lot on our managers actually talking to their people. You know, even if you're home, you can't have that, you know, I haven't spoken with my guys for 2 weeks. This doesn't exist. You just need to pick the phone and you need to have discussions which are discussions related to the work, but discussions that are unrelated to work as well. And actually what we encouraged in the company is that anybody can pick the phone and talk to colleagues from other departments and just say, hi, I just called you, not for a specific reason, but just to say, how are you today? Because this used to be the type of interactions that you used to have in the kitchen or at a cigarette or something, which disappeared. And actually they created a big part of the life of the person And right now it's gone. Right now you're just hurrying between calls and you're not even taking any time for personal discussions and personal interactions. So this indeed in a winter period is even significantly more depressing. So what we are doing, we are looking at very practical ways of actually helping the people communicate more and get them engaged in different interactions that take them out of the work, and put them into any type of other activities that will create some human interactions, and projects can be as well.
Yeah, it's Claudia. It's interesting. I think Florian has just added another skill to your 2020 list. Maybe your managers need to be a bit of a psychologist as well these days. And I think Florian, this emotional period that we've been in has taught us a lot as leaders in terms of our closeness and our empathy and the emotional intelligence that Claudia mentioned with our people. But I think that's not going to go away, is it? So maybe a psychologist added to it. Claudia, I know there's been a surge. I know in Romania with Regina Maria and a couple of other institutions have introduced telemedicine. Well, not telemedicine, but teletherapy as well, that I think they're introducing with companies. I know in the UK, there was like a 50% increase in young people between the ages of 25 and 30 calling these helplines. It sounds very dramatic, but is that the reality? Should we really, because if we wait until the end of next year, are we in danger of having a lot of young people in Romania very, very sort of damaged by this whole thing?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's not only for young people, that's for everybody. And, you know, and different from Western countries, the patients in Romania, they are much more closer to their physician as a person. Yeah, so they take the interaction, the personal interaction with their physician on a very personal level. So and also, if you think a big part of the population for the young people, definitely they can access through this telemedicine, they can access a physician much quicker. But imagine somebody, let's say an older or a more senior lady or a man from the countryside. They have no chance to go or to access a physician through telemedicine. They would not even think about it. Yeah, and I think that's definitely a huge challenge. And I don't think that Romania, probably Germany, not probably, for sure, Germany, UK, and so on, they are dealing with this at a totally different level. But Romania, in terms of telemedicine, I know that there are efforts done by private, so to say, healthcare providers. However, I see this. I don't see this realistic for the older generation. So for younger people, yes, but not for the older generation.
Well, that's bad news for me then, I guess. I'll give you a call, Florian.
Yeah, Colin, I can say that we have worked with our friends from Telios, and they started this in Romania, and we actually worked with them and pushed it to our customers as a free benefit. And we thought this is going to fly very easy. Reality, it didn't. For now, from this perspective, because people say, you know what, I have my own doctor de familia, family doctor, that I go and actually I talk to them, and actually they are talking to me over the phone in these days as well. So I kind of get similar service. So I think the reality is that I think we will go into this direction, but it will take longer time than maybe in other countries.
And there is also something here. Here regarding some Romanian specificities. You know, just to give you an example from my family. You know, a distant relative living in Bucharest, and so I'm happy that she's in Bucharest because you know she has more possibilities to reach how to say a different level of healthcare because usually she's living on the countryside. She told me that she was planning to travel, I don't know, in 2 days from now to her family doctor in, you know, a remote city in Romania. And I was saying, why should you go there? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You know, it doesn't make any sense. And the answer was because she's assigned to this doctor, and this doctor will sign for her whatever paper where she can access free of charge medicines from the pharmacy. Yeah, so she needs the recipe. She needs how to say. I'm just missing the English word. Rețeta. So she's missing the official paper from the physician, from the family doctor, that she can get her medicine for her chronic diseases free of charge from the pharmacy. So she's willing to take the trip to that region for a piece of paper, because this piece of paper in original is needed for her to go to a pharmacy and save money on taking the medication. You know, so, and this, how to say, and this of course also during the pandemic is not so safe. I mean, you know, to catch the disease and so on. And I don't think that the system in Romania, in terms of this interaction between the Casa de Asigurări and physician and so on, it's so advanced and digitalized that that this or any person could get such a paper on a digital form, yeah.
Okay.
Which would make the entire process more easy. So, you know, there are restrictions, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess what you're saying is digitalization is good in some areas and not very good in others, and we need to move forward. But Florian, just going back to digitalization, I guess. You know, we've been talking about working from home, and I think we're all agreeing that's going to be the norm, this hybrid, maybe 2 or 3 days a week at home or 2 days at home, whatever it's going to mean. I guess that could possibly mean young people who may be paying a lot of money for a smaller apartment in Bucharest can actually now go back home to Pitești, to Brașov, wherever their family is, save on the rent, just travel on the train for 2 days a week. But how does it affect regionally in terms of digitalization? We know in Bucharest, it glows at night time. Cluj glows at night times, and Timișoara and Iași, the major cities. But what about the advancement of digitalization in Romania based on people needing to work from remote towns and villages? Is that going to stall things, or how are we going to cope with that? And I guess for Providence, I know traditionally you had people on the ground walking around, and I guess your Provident people were known by everybody in the village. Now you've got to change to digitalization to make it easier for the customer. So Charlie isn't walking around the village, but maybe the internet connection, etc. Am I talking about a potential problem that could slow down this advancement over the next year or so?
Well, if we look at the fact that people started to work already from other cities, that's happening. That's a reality. We already have people that are actually going and working from home, from their parents, rather than paying rent here in Romania. So that's a reality. I think the good thing that we are blessed here in Romania is that we are blessed with great internet. And that's a reality. It's one of the best things in Europe in terms of speed of internet. So this actually allows us to do it quite easily, to go and work from remote villages or from somewhere in the mountains and still have internet and still have a very cheap mobile data package and stuff like this that allows us to do this. So the way I see it, the fact that they will not necessarily be here will not be necessarily stopping the digitalization. Even for our workforce, if we look into the interaction that they have with our customers, we already did a lot of investment into something that we call MyProvi, where they can introduce all the data of the contract on the telephone in an app. And from there, it's transferred to the head office where the application is then verified and an agreement is received. Now, in the future, we can easily see these kind of MPOS, basically mobile POSs, where again on your phone you can take money from the customer and so on and so forth. So I think reality is that we are moving towards a lot of apps and a lot of digital digital applications that will help us in the future basically replicate a lot of the interaction and a lot of the work and cut down on a lot of traveling and costs. And that's just the reality. We will get there. Okay. But part of the interactions will still remain. That's something that I don't doubt either.
Yeah, true. That human touch is always. I think Claudia mentioned about robots having emotions. I think God help us when that happens. I think.
Yeah.
So, Florian, what you're saying in terms of speaking on behalf of Romania here, I guess about what you're saying, Providence, Romania, and other companies in Romania do still maintain that competitive edge through digitalization because of the reasons you just said. So it's kind of a good shape for us. I'm going to come to you in a moment, Claudia, for a final bit of advice for people out there. Then I'm going to come to Andreas and Neil for some final words. So Claudia, and I'll give Florian an opportunity to throw in a quick bit of advice for us. But Claudia, what advice would you give? In fact, I've heard that we've had over 200 followers on Facebook. So you've got quite a crowd there. So what advice do you give to the people looking at their screens right now?
I tell them that to keep their faith in back to normal towards the end of the next year. So I need to stay realistic. So we will get the piece of normality we want in the fourth quarter of next year. So this is my estimation. So another message which I would like to give to them is to stay, to communicate, not to be reluctant to communicate with their bosses, with their colleagues, to express their feelings, yeah, to ask for advice. And another point which I want to also to say is that to be patient. Yeah, it's not easy to be patient. I'm also a very impatient type of person. Yeah, so I want everything quick, and and
you surprise me.
It's also a learning process. Yeah, you need to be patient. There is a situation where we all need to go inside us and just tell ourselves, for example, I was thinking, I don't know, a few days ago, I was thinking 1 year of my life was stolen. Was stolen, but how to say, and then I think this year made me more stronger, realize, or made me to learn about me more than everything else before. And also I have learned to listen more to my kids. I have 3 kids, 10 and 11 and 8, twins, 8 years old, boy and girl, and my oldest daughter, she's 10. And I learned to listen to them much more in detail with a different sort of dimension. Yeah.
Excellent.
So,
excellent.
And all these things, I think it will take out of us the best we have. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
And this is a message to everybody listening today. Be patient, keep your faith, that we will get out of this situation. It's not easy because, I can imagine people who really lost their jobs, who really struggle with many things, companies who struggle with their existence. There is a way out of this. Yeah. And we as a humanity, we get through it stronger together. And so to say, we learn to be less selfish, so to say. Yeah.
Okay. Good advice, Florian. You feel better?
Absolutely. I think if I can add just one more thing, for me, the most important in this period is actually to protect our people. I think our people and our customers are actually the best asset that we have, and is the one on which we will count to rebuild anything that goes wrong in the COVID. So we need to make sure that no matter which is the impact that the business might have, we need to put the health and here I'm talking both physical and mental health of our people is paramount, is the most important things that we need to do in this period. And then step by step, things will gonna be rebuilt. We will move into a new world, but this new world, it will be something that we can create on our own. It's a great opportunity on the other side. It's not so often that you find yourself into such volatile periods, but from volatile periods, great things can come. So I think if we look with this open mind, and if we look into how we can transform this into something that actually 10 years down the line, it will look like a very solid, sustainable thing, I think we have got a lot to benefit from this period.
Excellent. And I guess just to add to that, we talked about the advantage in Romania for its digitalization. I think another advantage being here 12 years is that wonderful family traditions and values that are very, very strong here is probably coming to its own now, because it's about caring, isn't it? It's about caring about people, but I guess as well, you know, just keeping an eye on your colleagues to the left and right of you as well, not to assume that everybody is able to take care of their emotions in a good way. So thank you very much, Florian and Claudia. I'm going to leave the final words to Andreas and Neil, and then I'm going to ask Anna to tell us very, very quickly what's next for the BRCC. Andreas, welcome back, and what are your final words for us?
Yeah, many thanks. I listened only partially, but what was said here, I fully underline and support. What I was to say, it was one of the best times in my life this year with my family. I have really to say, I never spent so much time with my family, and we rented this year a house in Balteni in March, April, May, when the pandemic started, because our apartment was just too small with the entire family. They all were here and they cannot go back to Great Britain during this time. So we had a great time in Balteni Parish outside of Bucharest. We really enjoyed, and I came much closer to my boys who are now 20 and 22. So really good time, I have to say. Of course, in these times, optimism is important, showing empathy, presence, leading with purpose and compassion, I have to say. And it's important that we really demonstrate that the care of the well-being of our employees is quite important. Take care of their physical and mental health. That is something we always have to acknowledge and to understand and to work on. And basically what was also said, I believe there are a lot of opportunities in this time, many opportunities to drive changes, create and implement quickly new processes, and take the best out of this. And also what said Claudia, I mean, we all became most probably a bit more resilient. And that's something, do not complain, be grateful, thankful, and think with an open mindset. That is my suggestion.
Yeah, it's really positive conclusions. I think, you know, as Claudia said, we've learned a lot through this period, but I think we're coming out of it as better human beings and a bit more effective on the advancement of digitalization. So
absolutely, Colin. I mean, when I think back, I was always flying around the world before this job, and I said, hey, where's my time? Where's my life with the family? And I understand with such meetings here, I can save so much time instead of sitting 12 hours in a jet. I mean, it's really good.
Makes you realize how much of Romania we haven't seen as well.
Which is very interesting, Andreas, because the technology was available also before COVID.
We did not use.
Exactly. So it's kind of take us in a good journey. So Neil, don't spoil this momentous sort of emotions that are coming through. Final words from you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Claudia and Florine, for your presentations, and to Andreas for your very kind comments. I've really enjoyed this afternoon's webinar. I think it's been exceptionally good. And thank you to all of those who've asked questions. Two things have occurred to me in particular. One is the comment about reverse mentoring. And I think this is something we've tried to do in the chamber with our colleagues. We were talking about social media. We were told, oh no, you're dinosaurs. You should be using Instagram or YouTube or whatever, which we're trying to catch up on that one. But I'm reminded of when I was a junior lawyer in Aberdeen, how the approach taken there, although we had the Dean of Faculty as one of the people in the firm, everything was given to the most junior trainee because they were most recently out of university. And a similar kind of approach here is good. If you've got people who know the technology, help them to teach you. The other thing I'd say is we're very lucky in the chamber. We have a great many NGOs. We have an NGO working group. And one comment that was made when we had the NGO working group, I think it was last week, struck me, that this pandemic and this new way of working has been a great equalizer. And that for people who we might have thought were disabled, suddenly they're not, because it doesn't matter if your office has got the right access for someone in a wheelchair. It doesn't matter if the member of staff has vision impairment, if they've got the necessary things on their computer. So one of the key things here, I think, is there are people in the labor force who you might not have considered before, who we used to regard as disabled or less disabled than we are, the able-bodied people are. But suddenly they are just as able as the rest of us to compete and to work in this environment. So please think about them. You're thinking about the future for your labor force. Colin, thank you very much for moderating. Excellent job.
Yeah, it was a nice message. In terms of the young people in the office, with interns, I always the best advice I ever gave an intern was, if somebody asks you to make them a cup of coffee, make it the worst cup of coffee you've ever made, because they'll never ever ask you ever again. So if there are any young people listening, make sure you do that. Anna, what's next for the BRCC?
Thank you, Colin. Thank you again to our speakers for the very informative session today. Thank you, Colin, for moderating this again. Of course, we stay active in the online, so we have some upcoming webinars. Our next one will be on education. It will be dedicated to our Romanian students studying in the UK, and we will discuss the opportunities on the Romanian job market. And of course, because we all miss them, we will have in December 2 networking events, one of which will be a wine tasting, because of course we all miss them. Of course, you can check our website and our social media platforms, where we update them daily with all the information on the events and on our initiatives. Thank you again very well.
Andreas was smiling when he mentioned that, so make sure you get
I'll make sure he'll get an invitation for that, yeah.
Thank you, Anna, and again, great job putting this all together. Thank you all for participating, and those 200 people plus on Facebook. You know, a big wave to you. Claudia, Florine, thank you so much for your insights. Andreas and Neil for your insights as well. It's been an enjoyable time. It's very dark outside, so if you're traveling, safe journey back, and just stay safe, and best wishes to everybody. I guess we're getting towards that Christmas period where people will be even more protective, because nobody wants to test positive 2 weeks before Christmas, of course. So stay extra safe, wear your masks, and we'll see you again soon. And thank you very much to everybody, and a good evening to you. Let's all give each other a wave.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.